Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. Glad you are with us. We're talking with Dr. Alan Brown. He is an author. He's written 29 different books on Southern folklore and Southern ghost lore. And that's really what we're drilling into. Really stories of haunted places all over the South. And again, Dr. Brown joining us via Zoom. And Dr. Brown, I want to big picture talk a little bit about just fear. And why is it we are so... Why do some people want to be afraid? You know, we go to a haunted house willingly, and it's fun, but we're also scared. So what's going on there?
Yeah, I think people enjoy fear, enjoy being scared. Number one, if they're not alone, if they got several people with them, that's fun. Like sitting in a movie theater. I love watching horror movies in movie theaters where everybody's jumping and screaming at the same time. I also think people enjoy fear if it serves some kind of purpose, such as legend tripping. That is a term that has been, it's actually a fairly recent term that refers to the practice of going to a haunted bridge or a haunted house or a haunted graveyard and spending the night. These are mostly teenagers who do this. They go out to these places and party, but they do it to prove their courage, and they do it to, I think, to bond with others, and they do it to, I guess, it's a rite of passage of violating the no trespassing signs or the warnings from their parents. So they go to places like the public trestle in Louisville that's supposed to be haunted by a monster called the Ghost Man. He was a circus freak who terrorizes this bridge, and students and young people will go up there and stand there and wait for the train to come and jump off just in time. And it's a way of proving their manhood, and there's an adrenaline rush to it. Adrenaline rush, I think, similar to that which we experience on a roller coaster. You know you're safe. I think why if you're with a large group of people, you know you're going to probably be okay. Even if you go into a really haunted house, you're going to be all right. But if we're by ourselves, not so much. And that's not to say that all fear is enjoyable. People who have phobias,
right.
They're not having a good time if a cat crosses their path.
Well, and you want it to be for a designated period of time. You want to know that it's, you know, I can get through this. But there is something about facing something down and coming down, you know, coming out on the other side of it, okay, you know?
Yes.
And
you're right, facing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, surviving it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a haunted nightclub in Wilder, Kentucky called Bobby Mackey's Music World. Really haunted place. And you can get t-shirts there that say, I survived Bobby Mackey's Music World. You can wear that proudly because because it has that reputation.
So you've done something.
Yeah, you've done something.
Let me ask, what about movies? What's a good example of a you know, a ghost story, a ghost tale that you have really found to be a good one?
Yeah. I think Psycho's the best horror movie ever made. And I think what's frightening about it isn't because it deals with the supernatural or anything. It deals with real life monsters. Mm-hmm. And it deals with evil that takes the form of the boy next door. Somebody that is not supposed to be a psychopath or a serial killer. And I think it's frightening because it reminds us that there is evil in the world. And everything is not all flowers and roses. And we do have to be careful. And of course, in 1960, when the film nobody expected Janet Leigh to get slaughtered in that shower because she was a star. And if it could happen to her, it could happen to us.
Right, right.
I think that's what's so scary.
I know, that's interesting. And I said before, as we went to break, I wanted to ask you some inspirational type stories. Many people use this to get through difficult times. Let's say a loved one has died, and they are hearing, you know, something, there's a sign or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you see that a lot? And what kind of stands out to you about some of those cases?
Well, one person, one of those stories was a former librarian here. Her brother-in-law used to visit her house. Her brother-in-law and her sister used to visit her house all the time. And after he passed on, I think it was the day after he passed on, they went into the room. This lady went into the room where he and his wife stayed, and the radio turned on. And it was on a channel that he always listened to. It turned on, and she turned it off, left the room, and about 5 minutes later, turned on again, she turned it off, and then she sat on the bed and she said, "You're here, aren't you?" And she said, "I hear you, and I hope everything's okay." And it never happened again. And she was not scared. She wasn't scared.
Those are cases where they're not scary, right? They're comforting.
No.
So there are
They're
many cases, would you say there are a lot of cases like that?
Yes. Well, like I said, that's the #1 haunting experience that people have. And they're convinced that Uncle Joe was in the room with them that night after he died, and reassured them that everything's fine. And it's an affirmation that for them also, I think, that there is a spiritual dimension to life. And
well, Dr. Brown, I love that. Thank you. It's great to have you on, talk about it. We could talk for a long time. But author of 29 books, the latest is The Haunted South, Ghostly Tales of the Haunted South, which is a children's book. Dr. Alan Brown, thank you for being with us. We will come back and wrap everything. You bet. We'll wrap everything up right after this.